Hello, guys, and welcome back to TnF Gaming Podcast. It's been a long time. Me here, Travis, with VTM.
Hello.
And we are here to bring you some news. We have some big news, and we have some rumors, and we have people being dumb. We have it all. Yeah, we haven't made this in a couple weeks. We've been working on some of these games coming out. We should have some more reviews coming up very soon. But yeah, we could just go ahead and jump right into the news as we have rumors surfacing that Sony may be trying to get the Metal Gear, Silent Hills, and Castlevania license from Konami.
Save them.
Save them!
Free them.
Save them!
Yeah, because Konami's doing absolutely nothing with them.
And when they do, I just want to cry.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Survive is something I'll never forget it. I'll never forget that vortex.
Yeah, it's like they were gonna do something with Silent Hills, and then Kojima left, and there's just been nothing since. Like, I think since he left, they announced that they're not gonna focus on console games anymore. So,
But they did release Metal Gear Survive just to like, if we didn't think it was a nightmare enough.
yeah.
Like, there's just, like, people are like, we really want a Metal Gear 6. I'm like, I do not trust that from them. Because they even have any developers worth of shit there anymore? Probably not.
Probably not.
I mean, I don't know who made Metal Gear Survive. Probably a 5-year-old. They just used
5-year-old could probably do better.
They just
have more information.
Yeah, they just used the Phantom Pain's engine and made it a zombie game. Crystal zombies.
Crystal zombies. Fungal zombies.
I'm really excited for this if it happens. I know VTM doesn't think that Kojima would want to make a Metal Gear game, but I think it would depend on the circumstances in terms of that. Because maybe if you're doing it every once in a while instead of being told you got to do one over and over and over and over, it starts to get annoying, and I can see where he wouldn't want to make them anymore. But I can also see if you take a break from it, maybe you get an idea down the line.
I still say they should just make like remasters, kind of like the Yakuza series with its two Kiwami games. Like, just update the graphics for all of the games to look amazing, and maybe add something, like add some stuff, so like things later down in the line make more sense.
Yeah, I agree. I would have. I mean, as somebody who's only played, which one did I play? I played the Phantom Pain, and I think the only other one I beat is Sons of Liberty. So I would take a Metal Gear game, a remaster. I would take it. I would take a remaster of Mass Effect 2, but that has nothing to fucking do with what we're talking about. But I'll take it.
Yeah.
A remaster would be great, especially 4, because 4 was already kind of like on the cusp of the newer kind of stuff, but not really. So, I mean, a remaster of that may not be as hard.
Yeah. And again, I'd like a remaster of all the games, just simply so I can have all the games on. Like, I have all the games for PlayStation 3.
Mm-hmm.
That's PlayStation 3. I don't want to have to play that.
Yeah.
I want to play it on my newest one.
And I don't own a PlayStation.
The PlayStation 5.
And I don't own a PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
So, and I understand, and it's weird that they did have the Metal Gear Solid HD collection, but they only released 2, 3, and Peace Walker. But yeah, I would take a complete remaster.
Well, they have, like, in the Legacy edition, like, it has all the games, except, like, 2 of them you have to kind of hunt for, and Metal Gear Solid 1 you have to download from the PlayStation Store.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks.
And 4 is on the PS Now that I can't do because you got to stream it, and my internet's just not about to do that, so.
Yeah, and sadly, the graphics for that game are locked super hard. So, like, that game looks like a PS3 game.
Yeah.
Where, like, the Metal Gear Solid 3 got upgrade graphics and it looks great.
Hmm. Yeah, I would be totally down with that. But what I would also be totally down with, we talked about it, VTM isn't as big a fan of the Phantom Pain as I was, but I also see where he's coming from, especially in the
Kill the
latter.
fire.
Especially in the latter half of that game, where you can kind of see, in my opinion, where Kojima and Konami kind of started falling apart, because once you get by Chapter 1, which in my opinion was great, they started to do the same things a lot. It's almost like they were trying to fill time, and then the game kind of ended abruptly. Oh, I got through that eventually.
Yeah, I was trying to figure it out myself, and
Woo!
then I started getting tongue-tied,
Woo!
so...
Woo!
We're in the same boat.
Yeah. Um, like, I'm sure he's not happy how the second half of that game went. I'm sure
I'm
he's
not happy about how that whole game went.
I know, but I'm talking here, and I loved it.
Okay. To each their own.
Yeah, everybody has their own opinion. I enjoyed it, especially the first half of it. The second half didn't really ruin it for me, but I would really want to see him go and once you buy the license, like you would have the rights to 5, wouldn't you? Like, so you would be able to, if you
If
wanted
they
to.
were to buy Metal Gear from Konami, they're probably getting it all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so
that means like all the games, even probably the what was it called, the MSX or whatever,
Mhm.
which the first 2 Metal Gear games came out on. They'd probably get the rights to those.
Mhm.
And the handheld games. So yeah, if they're buying Metal Gear from Konami, they're taking it all. Even Metal Gear Survive.
Yeah, I burn that with fire.
Because yeah, like if I was Sony, I would not leave it open for Konami to make money off of something that they have no hand in.
Yeah, unless you want to, like, I don't give a shit if the deal is like you can use it for pachinko machines. You use stupid ass pachinko machines as long as I get my video games from not
Fuck
you.
them and their pachinko machine.
I agree. But if that's how we get the video games away from them, if they were to just make pachinko machines, fine. As long as you never make a video game again. But and then there's another one that they have.
Silent Hills or Silent Hill.
Yeah, Silent Hill, Castlevania.
And Castlevania.
Didn't they have another license too?
Not that's currently being talked about.
Not
just
that-
the 3.
yeah.
Just the 3.
Yeah.
For right now.
So obviously PT was widely loved and people were excited for Silent Hills. It never happened. I would say Kojima made that right before he left.
Oh yeah, because that was what he was focusing on. He was focusing on Silent Hills. Because it was right after Metal Gear Solid 5. Silent Hills was something that he wanted to do, so he was for sure going in with it. And he was going to use his engine that he made for Metal Gear Solid 5. So he's going to put that engine to good use. And then everything fell apart.
Yep.
And then he made Death Stranding with the people he worked with. So,
yeah.
I mean, does it really matter?
No. That game was kind of split down the middle, but at the same time I feel like it was split down the middle because people didn't play it long enough to actually see the good stuff.
That game is great, especially if you love or if you like how Kojima.
Mm-hmm. And I do.
And that's why I say, like, for the Metal Gear franchise, like, it's hard to give Kojima, like, the full reign over Metal Gear. Because it's like, if you don't bring him back, he will just take you into Crazy Town.
Yeah.
And it will never stop. Like, and I think that's why, like, we got the Metal Gears that we got, because, like, he had editors that could bring them in. Mm-hmm. Where, like, Death Stranding is like, him just full force, just Kojima all the way.
I'm okay with Crazy Town.
Yeah, I'm okay with Crazy Town, too. So, like, that's why I say, like, if he were to do Metal Gear, it's because he wants to do it. And it's going to be way different than people expected. And people would probably freak out.
Yeah, I think for him, I mean, you can see Kojima being in person and be like, I don't want games I made with those stupid morons.
Yeah.
So I could.
Well, again, like Metal Gear Solid 4, like one of the most infamous things is Snake was supposed to die, and it's like, imagine how many people would have like flipped their shit if he did.
Yeah, but as long as it was done well and correctly,
it was done well. Like I've read a lot of the transcripts of it, and it's like, man, I want this ending.
And there's so many snakes that it's just like, I mean, that character dying doesn't really mean that it's the end of the franchise necessarily.
No, it would have meant the end of the franchise because that's what he wanted it to be. He's like, nah, I'm tired of this. Like, he was over it since Metal Gear Solid 2. And he did Metal Gear Solid 3 because he really wanted to work with the composer of the music. And the only reason, like, he was like, I would only come back for the series if we were to do like a spy in the jungle game. So that's how we got Metal Gear Solid 3. And then he was done. He was like, the prequel, there's no way to follow it up because it's a prequel. We're going to leave it at that. And then fans sent him death threats.
Mm-hmm. But I also know that once he started working on the Phantom Pain, he really had fun making it.
Oh, yeah, probably. Because, like, he's a man who gets into his craft.
Well, he loved the open world.
Like, he may hate it at first, but then, like, if you give him time to tinker around and figure things out, he's probably going to start making stuff that he enjoys.
Yeah. Well, he liked the open world aspect of it, which is probably why Death Stranding was open world, too. I mean, outside the fact that they used the Guerrilla engine, which is Horizon Zero Dawn, so it really makes sense. But
well, and like Metal Gear Solid 4 kind of had shades of that, like within its first 2 acts, I believe. Mm-hmm. It was kind of more open.
Not as open as 5.
Yeah, not as open as 5, but like it was open, and like he was trying to gear the whole series to be like that. But then Konami reined them in. It was like, nah, we want this, not that.
They were Metal Gearing him in.
Metal Gear.
But I think Castlevania is just one they kind of threw in there because they were like, yeah, we could make a Castlevania game.
Well, especially looking at the success of its show on Netflix. Mm-hmm. Probably got a lot of new fans if it didn't have them already.
Yeah, and I'm not a huge fan of are they Castlevania games or those ones where I can't remember what they are, but I guess I've never really played a Castlevania game, so I guess I can't say. I've played games similar to it that I'm not a huge fan of.
Yeah, it's like Castlevania, Metroid-like.
Yeah, those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Metroid Prime.
Just big games games with huge maps that you have to backtrack a lot once you get like power-ups and whatnot. Mm-hmm.
But
good games for like people who really want to feel like the old stuff, because like their difficulties cranked up to like 20.
yeah. But here's the hoping that Sony's able to pull it off.
The hoping.
Regardless of
hopefully Sony just throws around that Sony money.
Yeah, regardless of if Kojima ever touches Metal Gear again or not, I'd rather have it with him than Konami, because at least there I know it's going to be somewhat safe.
I'd rather have it with Sony, period, like away from Konami, because at least Sony would like eventually find a developer.
Yeah, and that's something too.
Start working on this
Maybe
stuff.
You can have Kojima like write a story or a script of it, and then they can play off that. Maybe he doesn't have to make it.
Yeah, like he could kind of do like Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama. Like he just gives them like little notes on like where the story should be going. So like maybe they could just have him be a consultant and be like, oh, this would be better, or this is where I would take the story, like without having them fully have to sit down, write out a full story.
Yeah, or if he wants to do it, have at it, my boy.
Yeah, well, let him have at it.
I'm excited to hear where we come from that. If there's any concrete news, we'll bring it to you. But as of right now, it's just a rumor from, I don't even know if it's a credited or a credible source.
Well, a lot of people seem to believe this guy's credible because like he's almost like a Konami insider. Like dude just for some reason knows about Konami and all their failing. But jack of all controllers. So
yeah. So
yeah,
that's on the Konami Sony front. The next story I want to talk about is a man from Bethesda named Pete Hines, who did an interview. I believe last week. I can't remember. It was a little while ago. I don't remember if it wasn't in the last few days. But he had some few quotes, and I want to read these quotes. These quotes were he was on a podcast on Kind of Funny Games, and he was talking about Fallout 76 and the response to it. And
he's better off just not talking about it.
yeah, come on, Pete, I liked you. I'll read a couple quotes here. He says, "Well, I mean, at the end of the day, our intention was always, we're going to put this out there, see what folks think, and then cater the stuff that we do later to their reaction. So, for example, I think we're a little surprised how few people wanted to take part in PvP, and how many more than were interested in PvE together, as opposed to, I want to test my mettle against you and let's get into a duel. There's some folks who don't get me wrong, but I think it's a smaller percentage of our player base than we thought. Here is why. I'm here, Travis, to let you know why. As a 30-hour player of Fallout 76, I'm here to say it's because your PvP sucked! And that is why nobody wants to fucking play it. When half the time you have a glitch, you have a bug that doesn't even allow you to do damage to real people, and then you have a thing where if you're wanted, you can't even shoot them until they shoot you first. Yeah, people are going to play with their fucking friends. That's the whole point. But when you release a game with nothing in it, it's just open fucking desert, you're going to get... It's just boring. But this idea that you're like, we wanted to release the game and see what people thought first. That's not... I mean, yeah, we have our opinions, but our job isn't to finish your fucking game. Our job is not to say what sucks in this game, which is fucking everything, and then fix it for you. Because you don't even know how to fix games. You have a track record of not knowing how to fix fucking games. A big track record. It goes a long ways. Modders have been fixing your fucking games forever. Ugh. Hate them.
You know, and him just saying he released it because he wanted to see how people would feel about it is kind of BS. Like, developers should release games to entertain people, not see how they feel about it. They should be releasing games to, I don't know, make history almost. Like, because this is something that they can feel accomplished with. Not see how people think about it. It's like if I took a shit right now and then handed it to my wife and just to see what she would think about it. It's like, why would you do that?
They're stupid. That's just... It's been a PR nightmare with Bethesda for about a year and a half now.
They should just admit that game is garbage and then drop it.
But they don't.
There's no fixing it. Like, between its, collector's edition that had the fucked up bags and everything else that was shit about it, to the game itself, it's not getting better. They should just drop it and focus their resources elsewhere at this point, because nobody's playing this goddamn game. And if people are playing this goddamn game, they probably paid for the most expensive version.
Fallout first. And people are like, I hate anybody who plays Fallout 76 still. I know I commend you. I really do for...
You're a fucking idiot.
But it's like...
If you're still playing this game, you're an idiot.
Yeah, but it's like a year later, they're like, oh, we're adding NPCs.
Oh my god, they should have been in the game.
You're adding what we wanted in the first place in your damn game? What we wanted was a fucking Fallout game that we could play with our friends. Not a Fallout game that we could play with our friends that has fucking nothing in it. And at least Sea of Thieves, when it launched with nothing in it, they added shit later. Yeah, you're adding shit later, but like...
You know, when the games first dropped, I felt like Anthem and Fallout 76 were cut from the same cloth, but clearly one has developers who know what they can do to fix it. Yeah. Or one is just, I don't know why we're getting all this hate. Yeah. Like, shut up. Anthem, you know exactly why. Like,
at least BioWare had the common decency to be like, all right, we're sorry.
Yeah, at least they apologized, and they've been upfront. Like, we're gonna stop really focusing on putting stuff out each month. We're gonna like hunker down, and get you a good game that hopefully won't cost people more money.
Yeah.
Fallout 76.
The Fallout first is I don't even know if I don't think I think it was before we started doing podcasts, but oh my god, that would have been a trip. But next quote. The main reason for Fallout 76 was that the studio felt like multiplayer and shared experience was something that was brought up the most by folks who play Elder Scrolls games and Fallout games. They wanted to expand a little bit and try something different, not to the exclusion of ever making the kind of game they're known for. Okay, here's where it is. People are not complaining because you made a Fallout game that was different with co-op and other things. People are complaining because you put out a game with co-op that was garbage, that had no NPCs in it, they had quests that were given from robots. They were fetch quests. And then after a while you realize that there was nothing in this game but open bullshit. We realized all these Fallout games had bugs, but what we realized is when you take out the NPCs, when you take out the storyline, and you take out the cool gun mechanics that they do, what you're left with is just an open waste of broken. That's all you're left with. So it's okay to do different things. It's okay to want to do this multiplayer experience. But, I mean, you didn't even try. You just made a world and put nothing in it and said, this is good enough. It's not good enough. Then you made us pay $60 to beta test your fucking stupid-ass game.
And you know what? If they wanted to do a multiplayer experience for Fallout, they should have just did it for Fallout 5.
Yes.
Like, why not wait, test it, see if it can fit within your next Fallout, since, like, I don't know, that's years out. Like, you just finished Fallout 4. Why not just get back to the board, be like, alright, what can we do with Fallout 5? See what they can do with multiplayer. Not, we need to cash in on Fallout 4, but not think of a story or anything. We just need to release multiplayer.
Yeah. And people are asking for multiplayer and a shared experience in things like Elder Scrolls and Fallout games because they wanted to play with their friends. They didn't want to play in a normal game with a storyline. They didn't want to play with their friends in an open wasteland game with nothing in it.
I want to set my friends on fire in Skyrim, damn it. But I'm willing to wait for another one for the next release. Not like, I need it now. It's my multiplayer. I need it now.
Yeah. And they didn't even take all this time that they would have been using on NPCs to do anything cool with the world. It was just a Fallout world, nothing cool in it. There were cooler things that they did in Fallout 3.
Yeah.
Than they did in this fucking game. And let me tell you, it may have looked a little bit better than Fallout 4 just because it had more color to it, but your game was still broken. The game destabilized. I had a fucking game pop, and an entire city popped in. An entire city. And it's not like I was the only one. Obviously, I'm not the only one that had that fucking problem. You can go to YouTube and find all kinds of fucking bullshit people had. There was that video of that one guy where his game was destabilizing. Where it just kept getting worse, like the textures.
Yeah. Or the fact that people could spawn multiple nukes and just crash the game, period.
Yeah, that was funny. Next quote from Pete Hines. He said, otherwise you get pigeonholed into, like, I'm only ever making this kind of game. I mean, I think I've mentioned this to you before, but you don't get Horizon Zero Dawn if Guerrilla Games sticks to what they were known for and had always made. They pivoted and tried something that I think is substantially different than what they made before. Now here, you're a moron. Because they pivoted and made something good, Pete. They pivoted and made... that was the same year Breath of the Wild and Odyssey came out. A lot of people had Breath of the Wild as Game of the Year, but I didn't have a Switch then. So Horizon was my Game of the Year. They pivoted and made a Game of the Year. They didn't pivot and make a hot pile of shit. Like, I don't get that. Like, you can, like, choose a good game and say, oh, look, they pivoted. It worked for them. Yeah, they pivoted in a good direction. They didn't pivot and make their fucking series worse. Ugh, I hate that bullshit. And then this last quote, which is, I had to, because I was like, whoa. He said, improve the value in the commitment, particularly for those who have stayed with us from the start, right? There's a lot of them. And they not only stuck with us when we were dealing with problems and issues, but also stuck with us when it was very popular and very trendy to kick us while we were down and pile off Fallout 76. They stuck to their guns and weren't swayed by people. Let me tell you something. I'm still shitting on you because your game fucking sucks. You're allowed to like whatever the fuck you want. Like VTM wants to call anybody still playing Fallout 76 stupid, and that's fine too. But you can't be like, well, look at these players still playing. They weren't swayed by those stupid fucking morons. Those are fucking morons. They're not the majority, which we fucking are. And it wasn't, quote unquote, trendy. It's because your game was shit.
You know why people thought it was popular and trendy to shit on Fallout 76? It's because all of those people bought the fucking game.
Mm-hmm.
Period. It wasn't popular because it's something they wanted to talk about. It was popular because they bought the game and they were fooled.
It's popular
all
because
all that you're marginalizing by saying, "Oh, they aren't fans or anything." It's because they are.
Mm-hmm. We care,
and they've probably played the other games. They care. Like they aren't just, "Oh, I've never played this game, but it's shit."
Mm-hmm.
Eat shit and die. Like, no. The reason it's popular and trendy, because at the time, you released a shit game.
And it's still
so
shit.
It's trendy because the time was, what, a day after you released it? Like,
yeah. We're mad. It was trendy because you released a $60 beta test and expected us to fix your shit. That's why we were talking shit about it. Because you released bullshit and expected your fucking mods to fix it.
It's not even the fucking beta. It's an alpha. Like, beta would make you believe that game is close to releasing.
Yeah. Well,
alpha, it should never be released until beta.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I mean, they call everything a beta test anymore, but yeah.
Yeah.
I just, like, it blows my mind that these motherfuckers are so up their own fucking ass that they can't realize they make garbage.
We didn't turn out a bad game. It's just that we didn't get it right, so we're working on
it. Yeah. We released a game that was half done or less than half done and broken with all kinds of bugs because we wanted to see what you thought of that pile of garbage. We wanted to see what they actually wanted was mods. They wanted to pay mods. This is what Fallout fucking First probably is. They wanted paid fucking mods so then when people go in to fix their fucking game like they do with every goddamn Bethesda launch that's fucking ever, they can be like, oh, look, the mods. Look how good our mods are. Well, the mods are better than you are making your own fucking game.
Yeah.
Ugh.
The Bethesda mods need some real credit. Like, and it's sad that you can't mod stuff on console.
Yeah.
Like, they had their little mod community, but that was like a tame version of like the stuff you can get on computer, on PC.
Yeah. For sure.
Like, I don't know. Bethesda's a trip. I want them to do good, but P. Hines is a fucking idiot.
He did not come across well. And like I said, I actually like Pete Hines, and I feel like this was just him saying shit. Some PR shit. He should have just said nothing.
Yeah. Like I said before, you're better off just letting this game die. Like, just drop it. Like, if you're developers, like, why are you wasting your time? What are you wasting your time on? Like, is there nothing else you want to develop? Like, are you really like the shit stick at Bethesda that they're like, this is all you're good at? Like, fix this game. Like, we don't trust you to work on anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as a developer, I would feel like this is a slap in the face to be like stuck with this game.
Yeah. I mean, we can get into Todd Howard saying it's not where games begin, is where it ends up, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. All I know is, Todd Howard, you were a god, and now you're a piece of shit. Anyway, we're going to move on before we blow a gasket. To our main event of the evening. So the PlayStation 5 revealed their specs in a rather lengthy... It was supposed to be... I think it was for stockholders or developers or whatever. But then they release
It
it to the
has to be
public.
stockholders because they refuse to show us the fucking thing. So
Yeah.
this thing must look ugly as shit.
And I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
We're about to get bamboozled. We're like, oh, this is gonna be a cute girl, but yet it looks like a man. What the fuck happened?
They gave us a laptop.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. But anyway,
They're about to give us a VHS system. Like, holy shit.
yeah. But no, I think there was a little overreaction because there was a little miscommunication on what this actually was.
Yeah.
They did say
a lot of people were expecting to see what this thing looks like.
yeah, they did say a deep dive into it, and it was very deep and a lot of words I didn't understand. But that's most things.
There are a lot of words that don't matter in this one. Or in this. Unless you're like real tech savvy and you care about this kind of shit.
Yeah, so I'm going to do a comparison here really quick. So, the PlayStation 5 has an 8 Zen 2 cores at 30.5 gigahertz. That's the CPU, compared to an 8-core 3.8 gigahertz for the Xbox Series X. You got 10.28 teraflops, 36 CUs at 2.23 gigahertz, custom RDNA 2 GPU for the PS5 compared to a 12 teraflop 52 CUs at 1.825 gigahertz custom RDNA 2 for the Series X. Both the PS5 and the Series X have 16 gigabyte GDDR6 of memory. And Microsoft announced that they'll use 3.5 gigabytes for lower speed memory for audio and other things, and 2.5 gigabytes will be standard speed memory for the operating system. You got 448 gigabytes per second of memory bandwidth for the PS5 compared to 10 gigabytes of RAM at 560 gigabytes per second and 6 gigabytes of RAM at 336 gigabytes per second. Your internal storage, 825 gigabytes custom SSD for the PS5 compared to a 1 terabyte custom NVMe SSD for the Series X. The I/O throughput, which is where Sony really kind of shines here, is a 5.5 gigabytes per second and compressed typical 8 to 9 gigabyte per second for the PS5 compared to raw 2.4 gigabytes per second and compressed at 4.8 gigabytes per second for the Series X. So what I/O throughput is your hard drive, correct? It's the hard drive. Basically, what is it? Sony will be able to load a ton faster for the PS5 compared to the
games will pretty much move faster, could possibly look better because it's running faster and harder. So like, if you compare it, like when Metal Gear Solid 5 was released, there was like 4 different comparisons. There was like the newer Xbox at the time, the PlayStation Pro, and then the 2 previous systems, like the base systems.
Mm-hmm.
Where like I believe on that Metal Gear Solid 5 looked better on Xbox, but moved faster on PlayStation. This is pretty much the same here, where things will be faster. So like bigger games, like open world games, this is where this stat will really shine, because open world games will load faster. You won't be stuck on load screens for too long compared to the Xbox. You won't have hopefully you won't have pop-in issues with the PlayStation like you would with an Xbox if you're playing an open world game. Like you have to wait for things to load in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much where this kicks in. Like, it's kind of a big deal, especially when looking at all the other stats. Like PlayStation's not largely, but like PlayStation is getting beaten in the other stats, but this one is a big one for just game quality in general.
Yeah, for loading faster, because the Xbox is always going to have a more powerful machine. They have the Microsoft backing.
But that can also lead to it costing more too. So
for sure, and we'll see where it goes. Like there's some your Xbox fanboys that are like, I'd rather pay more for Xbox. And if you want to go with the Xbox, that's fine. But somebody who's neutral, if you wanna have a smoother experience or have faster load times in open world games and stuff like that, then maybe Sony be right for you. or if you're a Sony person, you're just going to go with Sony anyway. But but yeah, that's kind of where Sony shines in there. Your expandable storage is an NVMe SSD slot for the PS5 and a 1 terabyte expansion card, which is identical performance to the internal storage for the Series X. You have a USB HDD support for the external storage for PS5 and a USB 3.2 external HDD for the Series X. And on both the PS5 and Xbox, you have a 4K UHD Blu-ray drive. Teraflops, people have made a big deal out of teraflops. They're like 12 teraflops. I'm like, if Sony doesn't have this many teraflops, it's not as good. But the teraflops aren't as important as your I/O throughput, which we just talked about.
Like,
is the more important.
The I/O throughput is actually like one of the bigger things. Like, people can complain about how much space the game or the systems have, but it's like you're probably not going to use all that. Like, to be honest, like,
yeah.
Like, you don't need all that. And something that both of them have done, like, they've both kept their raw or the RAM down, because if they because I believe Sony has always worked with like the rule of 16. Like, anytime they increase the RAM, it's by like a number divisible by 16.
Mm-hmm.
But they actually kind of kept it the same, because if they raised the RAM to like 130 something, that would make this system cost a shit ton. Like, RAM is important because it'll make sure games don't run clunky. Like, instead of having to load it from the disk, like, it can load from the system instead. But like, the real thing is the I/O throughput, because again, it'll help your game run faster.
It is 2 times. It's 2 times bigger than the Xbox.
Yeah.
And so,
like, and like they can both look good, but again, like, it's just like if you have crowds or something, like, that's where I/O throughput would come in. Like, it can help the system run smooth.
Yeah.
It won't be choppy or anything. And something I also wanted to talk about was the expendable storage. Like, the Series X is going to have a slot at the back, so you have to like buy an Xbox memory card for it, where like the PS5 is kind of like you can just get, like, some people who are tech savvy can get like a new internal storage system and upgrade their system that way, where like with the PlayStation you probably just buy like a memory bank and just plug it in. So that's kind of an advantage over the Series X too.
Yeah. So
because you need a specific thing, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, so I would say when you're looking at which console you're going to go for, don't just look at it and be like, Xbox is the more powerful, so it's better. Because, and maybe for you it would be, but for someone else, if you're in the middle, if you don't know which way you're going to go, ask yourself if you want to have the faster load times on your open world games, or just their games in general, and because like I said, it's 2 times more. But if you want to have more powerful, you want a little bit more internal storage space, then the Series X has more. But even at that, the 825 gigabytes on PlayStation and 1 terabyte on the Series X really isn't that much. I have my external hard drive that I use, so probably not a huge deal for me, but for other people, they may look at that and be like, that's not really that much storage. I have a lot of games.
And again, maybe like the reason, like, this is just my own headcanon almost, like maybe the reason PlayStation or Sony has all this stuff in its system is to keep the cost down. Because like, because most likely there will be multiple like versions of the Series X. There will be the cheap version, there will be the like middle version, then there will be like the super expensive one.
And so,
like, maybe, and Sony normally only has like normally has like 2 different colors.
Yeah, they have the Slim usually.
Yeah, like they have the better, like they have the initial version, then they have the upgrade later down the line. So again, maybe this is just to help PlayStation keep their costs down, because like materials for this stuff is not easy to come by.
Yeah.
So if it's a little more accessible, like it can be like their system can cost less, that means that you can put more systems in houses, sell more games, that kind of stuff. Like make more money in the long run instead of like how can we get as much money at first and then see how we do later on.
Yeah. And I mean that's whatever you go with, I'm not going to judge you. But
Yeah.
I just know that hopefully both consoles are great. Um, but like we said, the Series X is going to have the more overall power, but the PS5 may potentially have more world performance power because of the
Yeah.
SSD they have with the quick response times. So that's kind of our update, or what was said at the PlayStation conference, and kind of our comparison between the two consoles. Um, what's your opinion on the consoles? You can just type in the comment section below, and I'll try to respond to them.
What do you hope the consoles or PlayStation console looks like?
Yeah, a penis. That's what I want.
I hope so.
Yeah. But that is gonna. Do you have anything else to add?
Uh, just waiting to see what this fucking thing looks like.
Yeah, a penis. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will talk to you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.